Hello everybody and welcome back. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm having a surprisingly good day myself. Started out quite bad, but because of it, I actually have a chance to record today. So you might actually be getting this video in the same week as the previous video, which is great, isn't it? That's amazing. A lot has happened though, despite it not being a long time since the previous video. I did a bit of work. Now I know I said I would do this, but I honestly didn't think this was going to happen so soon. But I redid the tunnel, and I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. I spent a couple of hours here the other day gaining XP. I've extended it, so now there are 3 platforms over here, so more mobs can fit in here. Just hiding some hoppers that way. This is still the same, but I've made it prettier. I think it looks pretty good, for what it is at least. I actually did this while I was in here. So while waiting for zombies to spawn, I thought, you know, instead of being AFK, waiting for them to spawn and drop in there, let's decorate the tunnel. You know, I had to be in the tunnel any case, so that's happened. Aside from that, nothing much else has happened. I'll show you why I spent so much time at the zombie spawner recently though. And I think it's quite a good thing. It's the reason I built the zombie spawner after all. To get the levels, and obviously I don't have a lot of levels at the moment, but there we go, waiting just for this episode, just for you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and that was not supposed to happen. I didn't know you could break an armor stand that easily. Anyway, we now have our armor, and running through them real quick. That was 1 enchant, guys. I got all 3 of those on 1 enchant. So that's pretty good. This took a couple. Fire Protection 3 and Thorns 2 was 1 enchantment. And then a Thorns 2 on a second breastplate. I just put them together. That was 2 separate enchants. And this was also 2 separate enchants. But I'm really liking that it has feather falling. That's really, really good. So let's go ahead and put our old armor up here. There we go. Now that, I'll build a blacksmith or something at some point and we'll move our armor in there, but we're going to remember our iron armor for the duration of this game. As you can see, I also have a couple more horses and a donkey. I went looking for a better horse. The horse I had was slow. It was a really slow horse and it was a terrible jumper. While looking for horses, I came across a donkey, so we now have a donkey with a chest on its butt. Actually haven't used him yet, but we'll figure out something to use him for at some point. None of these horses are actually the horse that you saw in the last clip. That horse was really slow, so this is the one I've now elected to choose. Of the 3, I can't determine which one is faster. They're all pretty quick. But I think one of these 2 cowskin horses has the same amount of hearts as this one, but it's not as good a jumper. The other one is probably just as good a jumper, but doesn't have as much hearts. So this horse is look at that jump, that was an epic jump. This horse is the best of both of those. So we're gonna go with him as our horse for now. And look, he's decently quick. I've seen faster horses, but he's pretty quick. I bet you're all wondering what this is for. So let's jump into that real quick. And this is me asking, I'm asking for some comments. I want to engage with viewers. Now I know I don't have a lot of viewers yet, but let's engage. These are the wood types that I have access to at the moment. I have dark oak, and as you can see, I've increased the amount of dark oak that I have. I've got spruce, And if you guys remember, there used to be a bunch of big spruce trees over there. I've chopped them all down, and I just haven't replanted yet because I wanted to show you the difference. And I've got about 30 stacks of spruce logs at the moment from chopping down all of those trees. So I've got a lot of spruce. And I really like the spruce log, the normal log. And obviously we're using spruce in our builds. We've got the logs and the slabs and everything. I've got oak and I've got birch. Oak we're using in the walls at the moment, but I also really like the birch stripped logs, and the birch planks they have their place. Birch logs do not have their place. They are definitely one of my least favorite blocks. Look at that, the sun is going down. Almost perfect timing. Anyway, the reason for this is to show you guys the wood that I have available at the moment, and I want to ask you, which combinations do you think will work in more or less this build style, but using these woods, changing up some combinations, like using dark oak logs and birch stripped logs, for instance, instead of the spruce and the oak. So that's a question I'm leaving up to you guys, and I'll take your suggestions into account, and then maybe the next building, not the building that we're doing today, and we are doing a building today, but not today's building, maybe the next building I'll do in a different combination of wood. For now, I'm going to be sticking to the spruce and the oak, because I know it works and that's what we have at the moment. But I want other buildings that's going to be popping up around here to not all be exactly the same color. So we might have a building here between these two that's of a different color, maybe a bit of a different roof shape as well, just to break things up a bit so that it's not all the same. Anyway, let's grab my horse, because I do want to show you guys what we're doing today. What we're doing is related to our horses and our donkey. But we're going to be building, ignore the but, we're going to be building stables today. Okay, I want a place to put my horses where they can live that's prettier than a mismatched pen at the moment outside my house. It used to be just a fence post, and they used to be tied to the fence post with leashes, but every time I went down to the zombie spawner, they'd be out of render distance and the leash would break off and they'd just go wandering about when I came back. It was very annoying. So I built this, but that needs to go. So today's building is going to be stables. And I want to, let's just grab my shovel. Before I build it, I want to decide, I want to work on a bit of layout for this village. Where we're going to have things. And I've left, there used to be a lot of these little water holes around, and I've covered all of them up except for this one, which is fairly centrally located. And I was thinking to make this the well. So there you've got ocean, which is salt water, and these people can't drink salt water. But if they had a freshwater well, it would explain where they got their water from. So I want to build a well over here and maybe have a little town square around it. Then coming out from here, let's start thinking about roads. So that's why I've got the shovel out. We're going to be marking some roads, just a little bit. And I want to connect this road up to the village we have that's near spawn, right next to spawn. And it's just because I do travel there occasionally, and I want this road to be connected to. So I was thinking to come around here, have our oak plantation, which will probably go away at some point, and we might have another building over there, and then come up this hill more or less, right, along here. And I wanted to make more or less sense where this road's going to go, so we're going to have it cutting along some contours, coming this way. See, there's the village in the distance, so it's not a great distance that it needs to travel, that we need to travel. But let's mark out the road, and I don't want it to just be one long straight line, so I'm just going to meander a bit to get there. And then this road I'll fill in at some point, might do a time lapse or who knows, maybe it's just going to happen between episodes a little bit at a time. I've put up this temporary bridge. I promise, it is not going to be permanent. This is just so I can get my horse across the river, because horses don't like water very much. And then, oops, okay, horse didn't like that very much either. We can come down here with our little path and then join up with the village's pathway. So that's what I was thinking for our first road, right? Going to connect our village to this village, and the only reason we're doing this is because this village is nearby. It's convenient. And this is more or less the track that I would take every time I come back and forth. And I've gone back and forth a couple of times to get rid of some of the zombie flesh, the rotten flesh. Because it took a couple of hours, oops, can't see my armor, to get me kitted out like this. All this armor took a couple of hours at that zombie spawner. But now we've more or less got a road, and I'm not dead set on how wide this road is going to be just yet, and it might shift one way or the other. But this now demarcates some space. Okay, so it's something to start off with. And what I was thinking, getting onto the topic of the stables that we're going to be building, is that if we've got travelers, visitors coming into this village, they might want a place to park their horse, to leave their horse overnight while they go and do business or whatever. And as they come into this little village, right here, I was thinking that this might not be a bad place for it. Because it's at the entrance, it's out of the central area of the village. I don't want the horses to necessarily be right at the center where you've got horses looking out onto the fountain. That will be like markets and shops, and so you've got the wizard's little shop, which will probably become a bookstore at some point. We'll put a blacksmith here, maybe a tanner, you know, those classic medieval little shops, and we'll put them around the courtyard, while the stables will be tucked back here. So yeah, I think this is a good place to do that, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to gather up the materials that I think I'm going to need and get the basic layout figured out. You know, where each pen is going to be. There will probably be a house for the stable master and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and figure that kind of stuff out. And then I'll be right back with you. Hello everybody, bringing you back here for a bit of an update. And I just want to share some lessons that I've learned thus far. They're not great, they're not big, but there are some lessons. Those buildings taught me a lot. For one, I've learned to not strip the logs until I've got the windows in, because that way I get to keep the normal logs and I don't end up with a bunch of stripped logs in my inventory. Another is I don't need to use full blocks down here, because it's not necessary. You're never going to see that. Third, those don't need to be logs. Same with these. Don't need to be logs, because one log gives me 4 of those blocks. Just trying to be a bit more economical. But now, back to our building. I've basically got the footprint of the building figured out, and I've got all of the ground floor walls up. I think this one might go up one more block. I'm not 100% sure. But what's going on here is these are the actual stables. Okay, so I've got 3 pens in here. And if one comes up here, this is going to be the hayloft eventually. And what I'm thinking is that these will be 2 roofs, right? One roof over the hayloft sloping up that way, and a roof over the bottom area sloping up this way. And that'll create what we had on the wizard's house, a side gable over here kind of thing, right? Into which I can put windows to let some light in. A bit of a clerestory window is what one calls it. And I think that could just be something kind of interesting to look at from the front. You've got these windows sitting up there instead of just one big flat roof. Carrying on, I've now, as the game progresses, obviously the amount of, or the type of materials that one gets increases. And I've got a silk touch pickaxe in my house, which meant that I could get stone. And stone led to stone brick, and stone brick led to stone brick stairs, instead of the cobblestone. So I want to, as another little way to break these up so that it's not all exactly the same, I want to build this house with stone brick instead of with cobblestone, just to spice things up a little bit, to change it up, to make it a little bit different, just that tiny little bit of difference, right? And I think it could still work. I mean, if we were to shave these logs, yeah, it's still got the grey, but it looks neater. And I think what we could go with as to why the stables look neater and those don't is that the stable master is a wealthier man. He makes more money because everyone that comes into this village will have to use his stables probably, so he gets paid quite a bit. And buying a horse, those that can afford to buy a horse are already quite wealthy. And if they came to buy a horse from the stable master, then that would be quite expensive and he'd make a bit of money from that. So I think the stone brick is a bit of a wealthier block than the cobblestone. And I think in this case that makes sense. I'm doing a lot of thinking. So yeah, that's a bit of an update. So I'm gonna get back into it. The roof, I'm thinking exactly the same shape over here as that roof, just stone brick instead of cobblestone. So yeah, I'm gonna carry on, get back into that, continue this, and then I'll be back with you guys probably to do some interior work. Okay everybody, look at that. I think that looks pretty good as the first building to the village that you see. Coming in, following our makeshift path real quick. Yeah, I think it works. I like the clerestory windows up there. And I like that the roof is actually a lot more interesting. All of the intersections where the three levels of roofs come together is a lot more interesting, and it worked out quite a bit better than I thought it would. I had a hard time figuring it out, but it worked out correct. I need to fix that. That needs to be a spruce log, but I will do that at some point. But I like it. I like what we've got. Okay, we're finishing up real quick. Just come on, pop in a door. There we go. Interior, not gonna do too much. Let's pop that guy down. He needs a bed, so we're gonna give him a bed over there, and a very simple bedside table. We're going to take the torch and we're going to move the torch onto his bedside table, just because if you have a little candle, you need to put the candle down somewhere. Okay, to give him a bit of a closet. What can we do for a closet? I think I'm just gonna be lazy and I'm gonna cheat a closet in like that. Absolutely nothing there, but there we go. I'll come and put some carpets in at some point eventually, sooner or later. In here, no, not like that, like that. Let's say this would be his little kitchen area, maybe. Give him a sofa. It's really difficult to work on the insides, and interiors, I'm worse at interiors than I am at redstone. So another goal to work towards. Maybe put some paintings in there or something. We can forget that that exists. This is the interior that I'm more interested in, though. We need to make this a little bit more interesting, because this I'm going to see quite often. And I was thinking, just something like that. It's something interesting, and it makes these corners a little bit rounder. They're not quite so stepped. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what we're going with. So, okay, then we've got our pens, and what I was thinking for these is a bit of a cheat, right? I have no idea what happened there. That was quite a big lag spike. We're going to take these trap doors and just put them over that, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, that I can jump onto... that is a design flaw. Okay, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to work with gates then. That is a design flaw. It means I can't get over that with a horse. Should have thought about that. Okay, I'll fix that. I'll put in some fences and things. Up here in the hayloft, we're going to just put in a balustrade. Very simple like that. Then in the windows, I was thinking to use the dark oak fences, since they stand out the most against the... Right, I can't get in there. Let's break these out. Like that. Like that. And the last one. Like that. So the high contrast between the fences and the oak in those windows, yeah, look at that. It looks like it's a darker window frame, right? One of those old plus sign shaped window frames on the inside. The house, I don't think, is going to get them. It'll get glass when I start playing around with colored glass and dyes and things, same as the other buildings. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. Tell you what, guys, I'm gonna get some fence gates, which I'll put in here, because I'll have to figure something else that I can't jump over that. And when I've got those in, I'll bring you back and we'll just do a little bit of texturing together and speak about some plans that I've got. So I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, now that we're back, so I put some paintings in here. There's one in the bedroom as well. I swapped out the dark oak for stone with the intention that this is like your granite countertop sort thing. I've got some torches in, put these in. Up here, while everyone's here with me, we're going to put in some hay, some chests, and just some of these note blocks to represent like crates. Something. Oh, no, why do you connect there? That's not supposed to happen. Let's break that out. So there we go. In the last clip I mentioned that I wanted to talk about plans. Now, plans was a big word, and all it really is what I intend to do with the rest of this little village. And I touched on that very briefly. Why does that also connect? In the beginning of this video, where I was talking about the marketplace idea that I had, and you know, things like that. And it's nothing too serious. You need to go on there. All it really is I'm really craving a boat build. want to build a boat, a ship, really, a big one. So in the first episode I said that we might be building a dock, a bit of a harbor, and I think that is definitely going to be happening relatively soon, because I do want to build ships. I love building ships. I do it all the time in creative worlds just for fun. So I was thinking that this little village would then become a bit of a trading depot. So we'd have roads coming in from that side, from the starter village, and roads going out that way into that landscape, and we'd have more villages and things happening over there, and trade would happen along here, along this main path and in this village, and along the harbor. So ships would dock here and they'd trade, and this is by no means a big village. This is not going to become big. This is not going to become an extravagant village, but it is going to see quite a bit of traffic. And for that, I think that this village will need a fair number of houses. Nothing big, no mansions, nothing extravagant. Just a couple of houses, but a lot of houses, because a lot of people will be working here. As a lot of foot traffic comes through, don't worry, I'll fix all those little gaps. But as a lot of foot traffic comes through, this village will see quite a bit of business, I believe. So there would be a lot of people living here trying to make a living. And yeah, that's basically the idea. So this would be one entrance of the village with the stables, and there would be a harbor entrance and another entrance coming from this way, and we'd have buildings lining this street, and we'd have buildings lining this circle, this square that I'm going to be making. And most of these buildings I'm thinking would be for commercial use. So stores of some sort, selling all kinds of things. A butcher, clothing, merchants that come over the ocean on ships and things like that, that would stop here, try their luck in this village before going on to bigger things, maybe run some bad luck while out on the oceans and they'd end up stuck in this village. All kinds of stories like that, and I want to work out stories for everyone who lives here. So every house that we build is going to need a bit of a backstory, reason why it's there, who lives there, why do they live there, things like that. And I think that is just going to make it a lot easier to fill space. If we've got a reason for a building to be there, then it should be easier to build that building. We'll know why the building looks the way it does and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, those are the plans that I have for this village, for this world, and we're going to be doing the same sort of things in other villages, and we're going to figure out why that village is where it is. So this village has a very conveniently positioned bay, and it's right at the middle where that bay crosses with a main road. So it's a point of gathering where traffic happened and people could settle to try and take advantage of that traffic going through this area. And that will inform a lot of the types of buildings that we're going to have. But yeah, so that's the plan for the future. Plans for right now: move in my horses, and that's about it. The horses now have a home. They have a place to stay, and I like the stables. I think we did a pretty good job. No wonder I'm bouncing so slow. I haven't eaten. I think it looks pretty good. It's a very interesting building. The roof looks good. I like the way that the roofs intersect. It's a better attempt at an interesting roof than, say, the wizard's hut has. But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. So thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. And I'm going to try to do one video a week, but sometimes, like this time, with this video, you're going to get 1 or 2 or 3 videos a week. Spice it up a bit, you know? Be unpredictable. Unfortunately, I cannot necessarily be more predictable than that, as university schedules and things like that keep me quite busy, but yeah, I'll try my best to bring you guys some great entertainment. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.